Hey guys, and welcome to Sounds Like NYC, the only podcast dedicated to spotlighting New York City talent. Today we have a very special guest. We have somebody who wrote for Jersey Shore, William Benton. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I'll defend myself immediately by saying I didn't write anything for Jersey Shore, but they did use some music. Well, my name is William Benton. I mostly operate under the name Cat Casual, and a band that I front, Cat Casual and The Final Word. And I've been in bands like the Phantom Family Halo and Lucky Pineapple, which had some dubious TV show affiliations. And I played with a wonderful Shilpa Ray, and among others, collaborated with various people.
That's awesome. I mean, I remember when we were talking a couple months ago. It was. You told me that you started playing the guitar at 16, and then in 2 years you started gigging. Did I recall that correctly?
I think it was quicker than that. And I started playing bass, actually. And I really owe it to my high school friend who was just so good, and I was so naive that I had to catch up. Probably if I had a more realistic and experienced, because I grew up in rural Oklahoma, so there wasn't too many shows to go to.
For sure.
So it's like, well, this guy's that good, so you got to get that good. And so I had to catch up to his level. And so I was kind of grateful. Also, sometimes I feel like that I got as proficient as I am now quickly, and never got very far past that.
I always for me, it's always interesting. Do you feel like it'd be easier for someone in a small town to get recognized versus someone if let's say you were doing the same thing in New York City?
I don't know, and especially with I'm old enough that I'm in that category of an analog upbringing, digital world, and how we're, especially I think my generation's a little insane because of that. Which is to say that my perspective is not a very good one, but for all the things that are nightmarish about the social media and the internet and whatever else, it's just also it's amazing the opportunities that are there, and I don't know. I think it doesn't matter so much where you're from sometimes, as far as how you're marketing and whatever. Now, New York's crucial to me because I love that it's this intersection for the world in so many ways. So that's what's huge to me, and I probably overhype that because of where I come from, where there was nothing, and I feel like the first...
Yeah, what do you do in Oklahoma?
I'm still trying to figure that out. When I go back, I've had to go back a lot of late because my father passed, and I'm kind of
Condolences.
Just reacquainting myself with the place, and I've found a lot of really amazing people and things there, and then also all the grim reminders of the things that didn't really jibe with my lifestyle and what I wanted to do. So.
Gotcha. I mean, it's also interesting for me because being born and raised here, right? I don't really see myself going anywhere else because I feel like I already have all the experiences or whatever here in the city. Right. But you like to tour a lot.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So what about that? I guess do you like?
It's fun. I think I can only kind of owe it to what I was kind of alluding to there, which is I have a real problem with feeling like the first 18, 20 years of my life hardly counted because there was just nothing. It was, there's a similar perspective there. A lot of people can't imagine leaving there. When I go back, it's how do you live in those big, scary cities? And I'm no, this is the scariest fucking place I've ever been in my life right here. And I grew up thinking that way. I grew up out of books, films, and records. And as soon as I worked for a year out of high school in the oil field, an oil rig, and just because that's the most lucrative way to make money, but also there was just no way. Yeah. The guy told me once that I was such a good worker, and he's like, man, you're a lifer. You're going to do this for the rest of your life. And there was no better way to kick me in the ass.
All right, I'm out of here now.
I was gone within a few months of that because it really sort of detonated that this could be the rest of your life sort of thing. Not to, never, I have plenty of, my father worked in the oil field and such, and the poor guy, he had 2 sons, and we're both like me, you know, like books and records and just nerds and creative types, and he was truck driving, race car driving, chain smoking vet, but he was always super supportive, and
awesome.
I really, his passing, I always knew he was great,
Right.
and unusual in a lot of ways as far as that goes. But his passing really hit home how lucky we really were that he didn't, you know, chastise us for being
sure
who we were.
I mean, it sounds like your dad was like a big influence in you.
More than I realized, and it's such a cliche, but yeah, his passing really kind of hit that home. And I think my work ethic definitely comes from him, which is that's another part of New York that really resonates with me. Is like, I got to keep going, I got to keep moving, I got to keep, you know. And when I can't, I really think the past year with the pandemic and the shutdown just made it even more feverish. That, man, I got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
It kind of spooked me because I also, in sitting around and not being able to go anywhere or do anything, and the creative faculties kind of shut down too, because I think things like touring and meeting people and seeing things, that's an essential part of the mechanism. And not having that and just sitting around and you know, just getting, you know, completely like, when's this going to end? And I'm just getting like tired and gaining weight and just really out of my element in every way. And so it's time to bust ass and get back to work and do everything. So
Time to get back to work.
it is, and I've definitely done just that. Like, I also DJ classic country records, so I was able to live stream and get some grocery money that way with that. But now I'm doing 3 of those gigs a week, or have been in Louisville, and now I'm trying to. And of course, I had the radio show, Radio Free Brooklyn, a radio show in Louisville. So even when I say I'm not doing anything, I was still like still doing a lot. But also it's time to write songs and try to get on the road or something.
Yeah, maybe it's just like how you're wired, because I'm sort of the same way. Like I could have like from outside it looks like I'm going left and right doing things, you know, but like genuinely I feel like, damn, I wish I could be doing more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just because like I guess like when you like what you do, you just want to do as much of it as possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't operate any other way. I've dabbled in respectable careers, and like as a musician, hospitality always did kind of served me well. Where when I wasn't touring or something, go to work at a hotel, and that was a great place to meet people from all over. It's like instead of seeing the world's kind of coming to you.
For sure.
So I fell into that and had some great and terrible experiences there. But that said, when you're there and doing that, it's like, well, this is something I could do for the rest of my life, but I cannot do this, like just this, and it's so demanding. So I'm just kind of doomed for this sort of loser existence of.
I think we all are.
Yeah. What is it? Yeah,
It is what it is.
As a friend of mine, the great Tim DeLonge, a singer-songwriter in Louisville, said to another friend when he was griping about it all, he's like, "Oh, Hawk, don't worry about it. You'll be dead soon." And that is kind of a mantra.
That's kind of comforting.
Right.
It's all gonna not matter pretty much.
Yeah, right. Somebody else read somewhere a motto I'd never heard before was the dead are the first to forget you. And I don't know how it applies, but it's something that keeps ringing in my head.
Get that tattooed somewhere.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah. By the way, so like, because you've toured as a band, right?
Yeah.
But then you also do DJing. It's like, what are the differences in that? You know what I mean? Because you're still like when you're playing live, you know what I mean? You're still, I guess, getting that sort of reaction.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the only way I can reconcile that is to say I've done some more, how would we say, proper DJing. And I can't say it did a lot for me. It was only when my classic country music of my youth kind of came back into early aughts. You know, I went a long time just getting deeper into the underground and psychedelia and punk rock and art rock and obscurities. And then Waylon Jennings passed away in the early aughts, and I think my brother and I both. I think that was a moment where it's like, this music that meant a lot to me when I was younger that I haven't been listening to because I really didn't like popular country music for a long time. Caused me to go back to that stuff. And I always wanted to have like DJ that stuff, and it was so uncool that was kind of cool to me, which is like, how would that go? And so I kind of pushed for it, and it's been amazing. It just keeps ramping up, and I have a massive collection of those records because they were never worth enough to sell. I did love them. And every time I got poor, I always had to sell like valuable records. Well, those were, these are things come from the dollar bin mostly and stuff. But still, it's this really meaningful music to me when it's good. And that has influenced my music so much as far as like more of a very direct narrative, stories, stuff like that comes from when I think country music is really good. But yeah, doing something for a crowd, there's either people there to see country music and they don't know DJ culture. So it would drive a real DJ nuts how they're always just like, what is this? Yeah. What are you doing and how? And then, of course, they always have requests, which is another taboo. But I'm okay with all that because they really are, and they just love it.
Right.
Or there's people that are a little more hip and just think it's bizarre that I'm doing those records. And I just kind of get all kinds. And it's so much fun. And then the radio shows came as a result in Louisville and then Radio Free Brooklyn. And it's been great. But at the same time, then people ask if the band has gone country or something. I'm like, no, not at all.
That's just a different side of me.
Yeah. The last record kept being called Gothic Psychedelia, and I think that's pretty spot on. I wouldn't have come up with that, but also if people show up to see Cat Casual, the musician, after just watching Cat Casual, the DJ, that might be an upsetting experience.
For sure. I mean, that's why you have different monikers, I guess.
Some people do, yeah. I've tried to be more economic about it, but yeah, it might backfire.
Yeah. So I'd like to talk about like what song would you like us to, I guess, play for the audience right now?
There's a song on the last record called the one that kind of was, it was released just ahead of COVID. Bought a van, ready to go, and it got shut down. So how the record was absorbed subsequently was a very slow sort of crawl because it wasn't really getting promoted or anything. Right. So it's funny to watch the initial singles kind of like, and then other ones kind of rise to the top. Like people seem to like that more. And a song that I'm really proud of because it is a little outside the pack is called Glorious Life. It's a result of maybe more poppier stuff that I'm into, like XTC, Smiths, things like that. But Big Star in particular. So that's a song I'm especially proud of because it's definitely kind of marks a change in things, as far as songwriting goes.
Awesome. Well, let's play it. So we just listened to Glorious Life by Cat Casual. Tell us about the whole process of writing that song.
Yeah, that wasn't because it was it's a little more on the poppy sort of. The record really starts out pretty brooding and rocking and kind of in an abstract way. It's really in hindsight I kind of see what was happening, but definitely some frustrations where I was at, where I just came from and such. So the record gets a little more optimistic as it goes. Even though that song is very cynical in a way, it definitely stems from, growing up basically poor working class in Oklahoma and stuff. It's really hard, and seeing people had it a lot worse. That saying of things, everything happens for a reason and stuff like that really irks me. It makes me a little nauseous because that's a whole other conversation. But the song kind of started there, but I wanted to make almost like an inspirational song around defying that sort of thing.
Right.
So with that, it was the idea, and it doesn't always go this way, which was the idea for the song came first. And then once a few lines were there, I started kind of messing with some chords and finding what key it's in. And then there's almost what I would consider novelty ideas. Like I always wanted to do that in a song. So maybe this is the one. And so I did that with this one. And then once it's, and you know, God bless the people who back me up. And every time, there's been a lot of lineup changes. And I really like that too, because that could be a real shot in the arm sometimes. But I can't even fully recall. It's usually like this. I bring in a song, and they all just kind of look at me like, I don't know, and whatever.
Wait, just hear me out.
Yeah, it is a lot of that. And then as they start like going in, and I remember playing it, and one of them saying, well, I mean, what kind of drum beat should that be? And it's like, well, thinking kind of like Big Star or something, where it's, somewhere between Ringo and Bonham, I guess, which, probably makes no sense. But then once the earworm sort of part kind of starts resonating, that's when they're like, well, maybe this is all right. And then that one turned out to be one of the favorites. So, but I also don't have a real like set process. I think there isn't a prevalent way where sometimes the music comes first, sometimes it's a line I like or an idea. So it's,
but like, is it always just like you writing it like on your own and then just having people add on to it as it goes?
Yeah. And that's the way it's always been. This EP is going to be a little different that I'm going to record soon, because the synthesizer player, Robert Ross, our terror boss as we call him, which is, he's been such an asset and a friend and everything. And so that was a way of maybe breaking up the monotony or the process, shaking this process up, which is all right with Rob some, because he's real poppy in his sensibilities, although he's kind of like a synth punk kind of guy. Has a really great like synth punk band called Sump Pumps. It's been around for forever, but they're all pretty responsible grown-up people, which I cannot relate to, and have real jobs and spouses.
Right.
Some of them have even procreated. And
they've multiplied.
Yeah, I know. There'll be little Sump Pumps before too long. Band. But I wanted to, if anything, like I do love what he does, and I appreciate what he brings to. Sometimes my songs can be a little void of a hook or a pop element. That's started to change over the last few years, but he always has that. Like he can find that in these brooding songs that I have sometimes.
And is that like a personal choice, or is it just like you're just not wired that way?
Yeah, it just comes out that way. Because I'm not opposed to writing songs that people like love and but you're not trying to make bad music. Yeah, I'm not trying to make bad music. It just happens sometimes. But Rob is really gifted in that area. Right. And he's so we're going to this EP's I want to call it the Terror Boss EP is like, especially since we're not going to be working with these guys because I'll be in New York all the time again. And so we'll do that. But I'm looking forward to it because it will be a completely different experience. You can start to, on one hand, it's nice to get comfortable with the process of recording. But on the other hand, when you've done it so many times, you're like, how special can that be? Right. So I'm pretty into getting, in my advanced years, my old age, I like getting nervous because I never get nervous about anything anymore. Right. And so it does make me a little nervous that these are going to be, kind of different songs. I don't know if we've done one of these songs that, I wrote and then I had him write a middle part for. We've done that live, but the rest of them have never been played live. And yeah, I'm anxious to change up the process a little more in a different way with these guys. There's a saying, old whores don't giggle much, and I might have made that up, but that's
a pretty good. You should trademark that.
I think Hunter Thompson actually said it. I think about it. There are some sayings. I said that on social media recently. If I've ever said there's a saying in Oklahoma and say something that's slightly upsetting, there's a good chance that I made it up, and I'm cloaking it. I'm
that's the way to do it, though.
I'm deflecting the blame somehow. But,
No, yeah, I mean, like, and you've also done, work for like short films and Broadway productions. I mean, you sort of
off Broadway,
but still, like, you've sort of attacked it at like different, angles.
And that's definitely, again, that yearning to like, that's different, scary, and I don't know how to do it, so I'll either bullshit my way into it and like see what happens. And what's funny about that is I've never really had a disaster as far as that goes, where it's never just like, what is this? If anything, I remember doing a short film bit of music up here with a really incredibly talented guy named David Lackner. He has a label called Galta Tapes, plays with Blue Jazz TV. He's just one of the most talented people I ever met. And we did this short film together, and he's more of a computer brain. I'm so primitive, it's not even funny. Working together was fun and great, and then, but also we just did this over like 2 days, like, did the stuff and sent it to the director, and she came back with, I thought you would have ideas in like 2 weeks, but we didn't know any better. We thought, gotta hurry up and get this done. And she was totally happy with it. Right. But again, our naivety can be such a gift sometimes, and yeah.
I hope she didn't pay you less.
What's it?
I hope she didn't pay you less because of that.
If she did, I blocked it out.
No, man. I mean, like, you've done a lot, and it's sort of like, I don't know. It's really good to see, someone who's like has a love for music and has been able to like do that for as long as you have.
It's well, thank you. That does mean a lot to me, because it is all where, if this year taught me anything, is like when you can't do it, oh shit. I mean, it's just like I can't even function, and that's where mental health issues come into play and stuff like that.
That's how you get even better music, right?
You'd think, yeah. Seriously, if a fortune teller could have told me the year before, you're gonna have a year off, you can't work, you can't go anywhere, or whatever, my brain would have went to, I'll write the masterpiece or something, and not, and again, that naivety of, no, it kind of depends on you being with people and going places, and I can't even, it's been hard to read books, even. It's strange, when you should have all the time now to do that.
It was more like a procrastination year.
Yeah, it kind of does feel that way.
Because we all thought, like, this is going to be over in, like, a couple weeks. And like, next month.
Yeah, right.
And then just,
there was a lot of wait and see, and then just never having anything like that in many, many generations. No one really knew what to do. And I think that was, maybe that is it, where it's just you're always thinking it's either going to be over soon or, so there's no reason to get all, any urgency behind it. So I ended up just doing nothing for the most part for the past year, except live streams. So.
Hey, maybe if you get lucky, Tracy Short's going to call you back and be like, I want another song.
Oh, Lord. It's funny, because when they do that stuff and then they start rerunning them in a different country or something, and I was wondering, like, is this going to, are they going to really, what I learned is other countries mostly, I don't think, like that show, like they can't even get on board with it for like for yucks. Yeah. It's just like, that's why we hate that country.
Right. So. To be fair, everyone hates New Jersey.
I really love I make as many Jersey jokes as anybody, but I'm from Oklahoma originally, so it's Oklahoma, Texas there. Lived in Louisville off and on over the years. It's Louisville or Kentucky, Indiana there. Yeah. And I love just people get really mad about it, but it's always just for humor for me. But I kind of like that sort of competitive, especially. Maybe I just like insults more than I want to admit. Yeah,
I'm with you 100%. But I think, I saw like an article or something, like the most hated state in the States is Jersey.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do they have redeeming?
I remember one time, and one of my songwriting heroes, and who I played with, Shilpa Ray, she's from New Jersey, so it was always fun to kind of make fun of New Jersey when I had very little, like, even experience in New Jersey. I don't think.
But you don't have to know it to hate it.
Yeah. I'd take like a train ride through there and check into Jersey towns and name and like that don't exist, like Rat Stink, New Jersey, to
to I wish I was New York, New Jersey,
things like that. But she did appreciate that kind of humor. But it's
so the way I like to end these interviews off at is like, how do you feel? Like just being in New York City has like changed you as either like a person or as an artist. Like, how's New York City changed you?
Just the last couple of days, and I do think part of it is the momentum of coming out of the pandemic and stuff, where you're sitting on your hands for so long, and then I love hustling. Sometimes I can't believe I did the things I've done basically by bullshitting or something. Whether it's, there was a year or two where second income was curating playlists in hotel lobbies because I just basically trumped up something I'd done at another hotel, and then someone, and they didn't really know any better, so they'd be like, oh, well, maybe we want you to do that here. And then I think after about 2 years, it's like, why are we paying this guy to do this? And I love the TV extra work on days off to whatever. It is that. It's this it's this condensed environment of so much going on and so many people from all over, and like I said earlier, the intersection to the world. And coming from a place where the world is very small. I mean, not to say that there are some very good people, and I was just reminded of that very recently in Oklahoma. But some people just can't imagine anything outside of their city limits, and that's where it becomes problematic in cases of politics and racism and stuff like that, because they're just scared of what they don't know. But I had to get out, and New York is just one of those places that's always inspired me. I'm not a very, I'm pretty secular, and I'm not very, woo-wooey and stuff yet. I do get a bang out of having this physical, tangible place where so much has happened, and the music that has moved and inspired me to. I've totally been the dork that would find an address where Tom Verlaine and Richard Hell wrote television songs, or somewhere else that's or someplace that's just totally lame now, but that's where this grocery store was where these shows were. And I love that, and it's an environment, but also that it's always changing. People always complain about the changes, but the history of New York, it's ever changing. Yeah. And I welcome that. There's always going to be, the money element and stuff like that.
But I feel that sort of adds to the experience almost. Of
it adds, absolutely. It adds to the urgency to work. Yeah. It also, you want to, I'm also pretty contrarian in a lot of ways. So it's I want to beat the assholes. And so that sustains me. If I could make people like that fail, I'm saying, no. If I could if I could do all right, and that's all I like to make art and share with people, and when you do a song and it's out, it's kind of, in my mind, it's less mine, because otherwise it wouldn't leave my room or something. So that's why Jersey Shore takes a song. Well, I didn't write it for Jersey Shore. The band didn't at the time. But what am I going to do? Stand at the record store door and little buddy with a backwards ball cap, you can't buy that record, or that's ridiculous. So it's less mine, and I like that, because it's you're gifting it or subjecting it to people, and but as far as New York goes, it's just these past couple days have just been kind of like that. I talked to you earlier. After here, I'm going to go see an old friend, Shahzad Ismaili, who's one of the most wonderful, talented people I've ever met in my life. And we talked last night for the first time in years, and it was just a reminder how much I love this place. Right. So
that's awesome, man. Yeah. Well, best of luck to you, and thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being asked.
Awesome. Thanks for living.